The galaxy had many dangerous places. There were worlds of burning storms, moons made of toxic gas, and planets crawling with predators. But there was only one place every alien feared more than anything else. A single blue planet, small compared to the giants of the stars. Its name was Earth. It wasn't always feared. Long ago, traders flew through its skies, merchants exchanged goods with humans, and explorers walked in its cities. But now, Earth was silent. No trade ships came back. No signals escaped its orbit. Those who dared to enter were never seen. Again, the Galactic Council had officially marked it as a dead zone on every star map. Earth was covered with a thick black mark, a warning to all species. Do not enter, do not approach, do not make contact. Still, there were whispers. In crowded spaceports, in smoky cantinas, on mining colonies. Stories passed from one mouth to another. They say the humans destroyed themselves. No, they became something else. I heard they built weapons so powerful, even the suns fear them. Most laughed. Some trembled. A few believed every word. One who believed was Captain Vorin, a veteran from the Tlor species. He had fought in 3 interstellar wars. His body was a map of scars, and his eyes looked like they had seen the edge of death and kept walking. Whenever someone mentioned Earth, he would lean forward, his voice dropping to a low growl. If you value your life, never go there. Earth is not empty. Earth is waiting. But greed is louder than fear. The year was 7284 of the galactic calendar when the crew of the Ilnara made their decision. Their mission was simple: fly to Earth, retrieve any ancient human technology, and sell it to the highest bidder. The price for such relics was beyond imagination. And so, ignoring the Council's warnings, ignoring the ghost stories told in back alleys, the Ilnara set course for the dead zone. Their journey took them past asteroid belts and dying suns, through the black silence between the stars. At first, the crew joked about the mission. Maybe we'll find human wine, one laughed. Or human gold, another grinned. But as they neared Earth's sector, the laughter faded. The Ilnara's scanners began to act strangely. Readings flickered on and off. One moment they detected nothing. The next, they showed massive energy spikes on the planet's surface. Then silence again. The navigation officer frowned. It's like something is interfering, but it's not natural. Then came the first sign. A small object appeared on their sensors. It was drifting in space, just outside the dead zone border. At first, they thought it was a piece of debris. But when they brought it aboard, they discovered it was an escape pod. Its metal was scarred, burned, and marked with strange black symbols. Symbols none of their databases could identify. Inside was nothing. No body, no suit. Only a single strip of cloth with a sentence burned into it. Turn back. The crew laughed nervously. Just a prank, they told themselves. But Captain Iril, the Ilnara's commander, kept staring at the cloth long after the others had turned away. Hours later, Earth came into view. It hung in the darkness like a jewel, oceans of deep blue, swirls of white clouds, and land masses bathed in golden light from the distant sun. It looked peaceful, too peaceful. The captain ordered a slow approach. The ship's engines hummed as they slipped past the first line of abandoned satellites. Some were ancient human designs, rusting and broken. Others were newer. Too new to be from a dead planet. They scanned one, and a shock rippled through the crew. The satellite scanned them back. The comms officer's hands trembled. Sir, something just pinged us from the surface. Identify it, Captain Irrell ordered. I can't. It's not any alien tech I've ever seen, but it's fast. It's already inside our systems. The lights on the bridge flickered. A faint rhythmic pulse echoed through the ship, like a heartbeat. What is that sound? A crew member whispered. No one answered. They entered the atmosphere slowly, passing over endless forests, ruined cities, and silent highways covered in dust. No animals, no signs of movement. The air was still, as if the entire planet was holding its breath. Then came the moment none of them could explain. In the middle of a shattered city, on top of a building, stood a figure, human-shaped, tall, wearing armor blacker than deep space. The helmet reflected the Ilnara's light for a second, before the figure simply vanished. The crew gasped. Was that before anyone could finish the sentence? Every screen in the ship turned black. The only thing visible was a single line of text. You should not be here. The engines died. The comms went silent. And far below, in the ruins of the dead city, more black armored figures began to move. Captain Irrell's heart pounded. They had just learned why no alien ever returned from Earth. And this was only the beginning. Asterisk. The Ilnara drifted in the upper skies of Earth, powerless, caught in a silent grip they could not see. Outside the bridge windows, the clouds moved slowly, curling like smoke around the ship. The planet below seemed calm, but everyone on board felt the same heavy pressure, as if invisible eyes were watching from every shadow. The crew tried everything. Main power, offline, backup, unresponsive, even the emergency. Lights only gave a faint red glow, painting their faces in a color that made them look like ghosts. No one spoke for a long time, until Navigator Selron whispered, "It's not just the systems. The air, it feels wrong." She was right. It was cold, unnaturally cold, and every breath felt like it came with a weight on their chest. Captain Irrell stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the last words that had appeared on their screens. You should not be here. The ship's engineer, a burly Glenorian named Threx, slammed a hand on the control panel. This is human tech. No one else builds like this. They're alive down there. His words sent a chill through the crew. Humans were supposed to be gone. History lessons said they had destroyed each other in wars so brutal that their own world had turned against them. The few who survived had vanished from the galaxy's sight. That was over 300 years ago. So how could anyone still be? Here, a signal broke through the silence, a faint, slow pulse. Not a voice, not words, just a rhythm. 3 beats, pause. 2 beats, pause. 3 beats again. It's a code, Selron said, her eyes scanning the flickering console. But not one I know. The captain's jaw tightened. Track it. Find the source. The signal came from deep within one of the ruined cities they had passed earlier. Without engines, they couldn't fly there. But the Ilnara wasn't the only one moving. Below the ship, something began to rise. Through the haze, the crew saw it, a massive drone. Dark metal and sharp edges, shaped like a predator. Its thrusters burned white as it floated up to meet them. No markings, no lights. It stopped a few meters from their viewing glass. Then, with a slow turn, it scanned the crew. The beam passed over each face like a silent question. Who are you? And then it turned away. Without a word, without a shot, it began to drift back toward the city. What was that? Threx muttered. A warning, the captain said quietly. And maybe an invitation. The Ilnara's power flickered to life again. Not fully, just enough to control descent. The message on the screens changed. Land. They followed the drone down through the thick clouds until the city came into view. It was a graveyard of steel and stone. Skyscrapers split open like broken teeth. Roads cracked and swallowed by vines. But there was no sound, no wind, no birds, no movement. The Ilnara landed on what used to be a human spaceport. Rusted towers stood like watchmen, their tops bristling with shattered antennas. As the landing gear touched the ground, the captain ordered all weapons armed. Stay close, helmets on. Do not engage unless fired upon. The crew stepped into the dead air of Earth. It was colder here, the kind of cold that sank into bones. The sky above was a dim grey, like sunlight filtered through water. Every step they took echoed too loudly. Selrun's voice was soft in the coms. I feel like we're being pulled forward, like they want us to see something. They followed the drone through the streets. Around them, human machines lay in ruin. Cars rusted to skeletons, shattered drones, half buried in rubble, strange black towers with their tops broken. Some walls still carried faded posters showing smiling human faces. Then they saw the first sign of life at the edge of a square. A small fire burned in a metal drum. No one was near it, but the flames danced high, untouched by wind. Around the fire, there were marks on the ground, boots, human boots. Not old, Threx said. Days. Maybe hours. The drone stopped at the far side of the square. Beyond it stood a single building, tall, glass cracked, doors wide open. Inside, they could see shadows moving. Weapons ready, the crew entered. The air inside was warmer, but heavier. And then, from the darkness, a voice spoke. It was deep, calm, in perfect galactic standard. You have come far. Too far. A figure stepped into the light. Black armor, smooth helmet, the same one they had seen from the sky. The visor reflected the crew's own faces back at them. You are trespassing. The figure said, You will leave now. Captain Errol took a step forward. We came for trade. We mean no harm. The figure tilted its head slightly, as if studying him. There is nothing here for you, it said. Only what you fear. Selrun's voice cracked. What are you? The figure didn't answer. Instead, it lifted its hand. The drone floated forward and projected an image into the air. Dozens of alien ships, broken and burning, falling from the skies of Earth. This is your future, the armored figure said, if you stay. Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them shook, a deep, rolling tremor that seemed to come from the heart of the city. The lights flickered, and somewhere far below, machinery began to wake. Asterisk, the tremor grew stronger. Dust drifted from the cracked ceiling of the ruined building. Somewhere deep beneath the streets, heavy machinery groaned awake, like a giant taking its first breath after centuries of silence. The black-armored figure didn't move. You should leave now, the voice repeated. Steady but cold, Captain. Errol's instincts screamed to turn back, but greed and curiosity were stronger. We came across half the galaxy to reach this place. You owe us an explanation. The helmeted head tilted slightly. We owe you nothing, but you will see the truth soon enough. A sudden metallic shriek echoed from outside. The crew spun toward the sound, their scanners lit up with dozens of contacts moving fast through the city. They weren't drones, they weren't animals. They were human silhouettes. Through the shattered glass of the building, the Ilnara's crew saw them, Figures in the same black armor, moving with impossible speed, slipping between shadows and rubble like water. Not one sound came from them, no footfalls, no weapons clattering, just silent, controlled motion. Threx's voice trembled. There's at least 20 of them, maybe more. The black-armored figure before them spoke again. You are surrounded. They will not harm you unless I say so. But my patience is short. The captain tried to stand tall, and if we refuse to leave, the helmet turned toward the captain, visor reflecting the dim light. Then you will not leave at all. Before Iril could answer, the floor beneath them shuddered violently. This time, the sound from below was clearer, a deep, repeating thump, mechanical and steady, like the heartbeat of some giant war machine. Eyes widened as she checked her scanner. Something massive, directly under us. It's moving. The figure didn't deny it. Instead, they stepped aside, revealing a staircase that led into darkness. Since you have come this far, you might as well witness why no alien leaves. This world, against every instinct, the captain nodded. Weapons ready, the crew followed the figure down. The air grew warmer, but also thicker, like they were walking into the lungs of something alive. The deeper they went, the louder the mechanical thump became. After what felt like an eternity, they stepped into a massive underground chamber and froze. It wasn't a building. It wasn't a factory. It was a ship. A warship so large it filled the entire cavern, its black metal skin pulsing faintly with light. Alien designs often looked sleek or curved. This was brutal. Sharp lines, thick armor, no windows. It looked less like a ship and more like a weapon forged for extinction. Selrun whispered, "That's human." The figure stepped forward, hand brushing the dark metal like one might touch an old friend. The Aegis, built in the last days of the human wars. A fleet of them was made. This one never had to leave. Captain Iril's voice was low. Why hide it down here? The figure turned to them. Because the galaxy forgot what humans can do, and we prefer it that way. Before anyone could ask more, the deep heartbeat sound shifted. It became faster, louder. The ship's hull began to glow along faint seams, and massive clamps holding it in place unlocked with heavy clicks. Threx's eyes went wide. It's powering up. The figure raised a hand, silencing him. You are not in danger, yet. This is only a test. A rumble rolled through the chamber as the Aegis's engines lit with a white-blue light, flooding the room in a harsh glow. Massive cannons along its side rotated slowly, as if stretching after a long sleep. Then, without warning, the crew's comms erupted with a voice not the figure's, but something far colder, mechanical yet human. Unregistered life forms. Detected. Prepare for elimination. Selrun's face went pale. It's scanning us. The figure's hand shot out and touched a panel on their wrist. The voice went silent. The lights dimmed. The heartbeat slowed again. You see, the figure said, voice like steel, this ship alone could erase fleets. The humans you think are gone. Command hundreds like it. We don't go to war anymore. We simply make sure war never comes. To us, Iril took a step closer, and you kill anyone who tries. The figure's visor tilted down toward him. Not kill, erase. There is a difference. Dead bodies tell a story. Vanishing tells only fear. Outside, muffled through the stone walls, came the faint sound of more armored footsteps, dozens, maybe hundreds, closing in. The figure gestured back toward the staircase. Your ship is waiting. Leave now, and perhaps your story will be believed enough to keep others away. Stay, and you will become another whisper in the galaxy's taverns, another ghost." The captain hesitated. Around him, his crew shifted. Nervously, hands tightening on weapons they knew would do nothing. And then, somewhere high above, an explosion shook the city. A deep, mechanical siren wailed through the underground halls. The figure froze, then turned toward the sound. "They have found another way in," the voice said sharply. Iril frowned. "They who?" The helmet turned back to him. "Not your concern?" But the look in the figure's stance told a different story. Whatever had just arrived wasn't supposed to be here, and it might be worse than anything the crew had yet seen. Asterisk. The siren's wail echoed through the underground chamber, bouncing off the black steel walls of the Aegis. It was a sound that didn't belong in the quiet, controlled world the black-armored humans had shown so far. It was a sound of urgency, of threat. The armored figure turned sharply toward the sound, the visor flashing in the dim light. "We have intruders." Captain Iril's instincts flared. More aliens. The figure didn't answer. Instead, they touched the panel on their wrist, sending a sharp pulse of blue light through the room. Instantly, the ground shook again, but this time it wasn't the slow awakening of the warship. It was hundreds of smaller footsteps, moving in perfect synchronization, coming closer from all directions. The Wardens of Earth had been called. Threx stepped forward. "If someone else came here, maybe they can help us leave the figures." Head snapped toward him. "No one who comes here leaves. That is the rule. That is why you should not have come." Above, the explosion was followed by a deep roar. Not mechanical, not human. Something alive, something huge. The ceiling dust fell in a steady rain as another blast rattled the cavern walls. Selryn gripped her weapon tighter. "Whatever's up there, it's coming this way." The armored figure moved toward the Aegis. Panels slid open along its side, revealing sleek launch bays filled with smaller drones, black spheres with bladed edges, their surfaces rippling with blue light. Each one hummed softly like an insect, preparing to strike. "They will intercept first," the figure said. "If they fail, the Aegis will rise." Captain Iril didn't like the way they said rise. The crew followed the figure back toward the staircase. As they climbed, they could hear the faint worry of drones launching above them. Through the broken streets of the ruined city, black shapes streaked through the air, vanishing into the grey sky. When they emerged back into daylight, the sight stopped them cold. A second alien ship had landed in the city's outskirts, massive, insect-like, with long jagged legs that dug into the ground. Its hull was coated in a slick, shifting material that seemed to drink in the light around it. The crew recognized the design instantly. "Krith Dominion," Iril muttered. The Krith were not traders, they were conquerors. And if they had dared to step foot here, it meant they thought Earth was weak. They were wrong, from the rooftops and shadows. The Wardens moved, silent, coordinated. The black armor seemed to melt into the ruins until the humans were almost invisible. Then, with a single pulse of blue light from somewhere deep in the city, they struck. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The first wave of Krith soldiers didn't even have time to raise their weapons before darts of searing energy cut through their armor. The second wave tried to retreat toward their ship, but the black spheres from the Aegis swooped down, slicing through the air in perfect arcs. Each impact was silent at first, followed by a flash of light, and nothing left behind but scorched ground. Selryn's voice was barely a whisper. "There, erasing them. The captain watched in grim silence. Now you understand the warning. One of the Krith's leg-like landing supports buckled under an explosion. The alien ship lurched, hissing clouds of green vapor from its ruptured vents. The wardens closed in, their movements so precise it was as if they were one mind. Then, without warning, the Krith ship's forward cannons lit up. Twin beams of blinding red energy roared toward the city center. The ground shook violently as buildings crumbled under the impact. The sound was deafening. YRL expected to hear screams. There were none. Instead, from the very heart of the ruins, a shadow rose. The Aegis, it didn't fly like other ships. It tore its way up through stone and steel, shoving aside the ruins that had hidden it for centuries. The black metal hull glowed with lines of cold blue light, and its massive cannons rotated toward the Krith vessel. One shot. That was all it took. A sphere of blinding energy erupted from the Aegis, striking the Krith ship dead center. There was no explosion, no fire, just silence. The entire vessel folded in on itself, like paper being crumpled by an invisible hand, and then it was gone. Not wreckage, not fragments, just empty air where it had been. The Aegis lowered back toward the ground, the glow fading. The city fell silent again. Asterisk. The armored figure approached Iril and the crew. Now you have seen why no alien returns from Earth. Threx's voice cracked. You erased them, completely. The figure nodded once. Death leaves bodies. Bodies invite questions. We leave. Nothing. The captain's gaze hardened. Why show us this? The visor turned toward him. Because you are leaving, and you will tell them, all of them, what you saw, and they will decide never to come. Selrun frowned. And if we don't tell anyone, the figure's voice was calm. To calm, you will still never return here, one way or another. Crew exchanged uneasy looks. Above them, the drones began to descend again, silent as falling snow. The message was clear. It was time to leave. But as they walked back toward the Ilnara, Captain Iril couldn't shake the feeling that they hadn't been shown everything, that somewhere deeper still, Earth kept secrets even darker than the Aegis, and maybe the humans had wanted them to see just enough to be afraid, but not enough to know the truth. Asterisk. The Ilnara sat on the cracked landing pad, engines humming weakly as the crew prepared for departure. The air was still heavy, the kind of silence that felt less like peace and more like a predator waiting to strike. The wardens were everywhere, on rooftops, in alleys, standing motionless at street corners, their black armor blending into the ruins. None of them spoke. None of them moved toward the ship. They were simply watching. Captain Iril led his crew up the ramp, every step echoing in the dead air. Selrun paused at the threshold, glancing back at the city. It's like they're letting us go. She murmured that the captain didn't answer. He didn't want to think about why. Inside the Ilnara's consoles lit one by one. Navigation returned. Engine control flickered green. Comms partially restored. The ship felt alive again, but something in the systems felt different, like an unseen hand was still in control. Do we have clearance to leave? Threx asked, fingers hovering over the thruster controls. A voice came over the comms, calm, familiar. The black-armored figure. You have clearance. Follow the route we send. Do not deviate. Coordinates appeared on their nav display. A narrow corridor leading straight out of the atmosphere. weaving between what looked like a web of orbital defenses. Selran frowned. If they wanted to, they could shoot us down in seconds. Irel's voice was flat. That's the point. They want us to remember that. The Ilnara lifted off slowly, engines straining against the weight of the air. As they rose above the ruins, the full scale of Earth's defense became visible. High in the atmosphere, hundreds of black satellites floated like watchful eyes, their surfaces covered in strange shifting panels. As the ship passed, each one pivoted slightly, tracking them. Threx's voice was tight. Those aren't normal satellites. They're weapons. No, Selran whispered. They're traps. Once they broke through the cloud layer, the crew could see even more dark shapes drifting between them and the void of space. Massive, unmoving warships, their hulls as black as the night sky, hidden until the light caught their edges. None of them fired. None of them moved. But every one of them was pointed directly at the Ilnara. It felt less like an escape and more like being escorted out of a fortress. Halfway to the dead zone's border, the comms crackled. "You will carry our message," the voice of the warden said. "You will speak it exactly as you hear it now." There was a pause, and then the words came slowly, each one sharp as a blade. "Earth is not yours. Stay away." The transmission ended. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Selran asked a question they had all been thinking. What if someone ignores the warning? The captain didn't answer, but his silence spoke enough. As they neared the border, a small, silent alarm flashed on Threx's console. "Captain, we've got something inside the ship." Everyone froze. Threx tapped the panel, pulling up the internal sensors. A single reading glowed bright red lifeform, unknown. Moving slowly toward the bridge, weapons were drawn instantly. The door to the bridge slid open with a hiss. Standing there, framed by the dim light, was one of the black-armored humans. No sound, no explanation, just the reflection of the crew's own faces in the visor. How Selran began, but the figure raised a hand. From their other hand, they tossed something to the floor, a small black cube humming faintly. "This is for the council," the warden said. "It will play once, and then it will erase itself. If you tamper with it, so will you." Before anyone could react, the figure stepped backward and was gone. Not walked away, not ran. Gone. No one spoke for the rest of the journey. When they finally crossed the dead zone's boundary, the oppressive weight lifted. The stars seemed brighter. The silence felt lighter. 2 days later, the Ilnara docked at a neutral space station. The crew didn't waste time. They brought the cube directly to the Galactic Council. In a secure chamber with representatives of every major species watching, the captain placed the cube on the table. It came to life instantly. A hologram appeared, not of a face, but of Earth itself, turning slowly in the dark. The voice from the comms spoke again, calm but unyielding. "This is Earth. We are alive. We are watching. The dead zone is not empty. It is defended. Enter again, and you will not return. There will be no bodies to bury, no wreckage to recover, only silence." The image of Earth faded. The cube dissolved into nothing. No one in the chamber spoke. No one moved. From that day forward, every star map marked Earth in black. Trade routes bent around it by entire sectors. The name was never said in official council meetings. But in the back alleys of spaceports, in the whispers of smugglers and soldiers, one truth remained. No alien returns from Earth, and somewhere Beneath its ruined cities and quiet skies, the humans waited for the next intruder, bold enough or foolish enough to test the dead zone.